It's 2 a.m., or maybe it's the middle of a chaotic Tuesday morning. You've noticed a clinical issue, you've raised it, and instead of a professional collaboration, you're met with a condescending remark, a raised voice, or a flat out dismissal. In that moment, your heart rate spikes. Your nurse brain wants to protect the patient, but your human brain wants to retreat. We've all been there. But as a leader, you can no longer afford to stay silent. Today, I'm teaching you the Ellis Grey method, a 3-step psychological framework to handle disruptive physicians without losing your cool or your authority. Before we get to the steps, we have to change your mindset. When a physician is disruptive, it isn't a personal attack, even if it feels like one. It is a system failure. In the clinical leadership compass, we teach that your authority doesn't come from your ego. It comes from your duty to patient safety. When you speak up, you aren't challenging a doctor. You are protecting a standard. Once you realize that safety is your shield, the hierarchy disappears. You aren't arguing, you are advocating. When a physician becomes disruptive, they are operating in the emotional zone. If you respond with emotion, defensiveness, or anger, you've already lost. If you argue, you're just adding fuel. The Ellis Grey method starts with the Objectivity Pivot. Force the conversation back to the clinical data. If they snap at you, do not address the tone yet. Stop what you're doing. Look them in the eye. Use a calm, steady voice and say, "Dr. Smith, I hear your frustration. However, the patient's BP is 80/40 and the MAP is dropping. What is the plan to stabilize them?" By ignoring the noise and focusing on the data, you force them to re-engage their clinical brain. You are subtly reminding them that you are both here for the same mission. If the behavior continues, it's time to address the human element using the mirror and pause. Most people keep talking when they're nervous. I want you to do the opposite. The script. State the behavior plainly. "Dr. Smith, you are raising your voice at me in the middle of the nurse's station." Then, stop. Count to 3 in your head. The silence is the most powerful tool you have. It forces the physician to hear their own echo. In 90% of cases, the pause leads to a de-escalation because they realize they've crossed a professional line. You aren't being aggressive, you are being a mirror. The method doesn't end when the physician walks away. Leadership is about what happens next. You must document the interaction, not to be petty, but to protect the culture of your unit. A disruptive physician isn't just an annoyance, they are a threat to psychological safety. If your staff sees you tolerate being mistreated, they will stop reporting errors to that doctor, and that is when patients get hurt. Follow up with your manager and, if necessary, have a second conversation with the physician when the adrenaline has died down. Say, "Our unit standard is collaborative communication. How can we ensure our next interaction stays focused on the clinical plan?" Handling high conflict personalities is the true test of a leader. It's uncomfortable, it's draining, but it's exactly what the clinical leadership compass was built for. If you want the full conflict script library, where I provide exact wording for the 10 most common disruptive scenarios in the hospital, it's all available inside the Charge Nurse course. Don't let a title intimidate you out of doing your job. Lead with data, stand with the standard, and find your north. Click the link in the description below to join the course, and I'll see you in the next video.